Hi, Lori. Thank you so much for joining me here. For everyone listening, you have tuned into Green by Design podcast, which, as you may know from listening to season one, is a podcast for home pros and designers who are interested in learning a little bit more about how to go green in your designs and projects, and as a whole, helping to clean and green the industry. So I am Erica Reiner from Eco Method Interiors, and I have with me here today Lori Dennis.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you for being here. Now, Lori has a bio full of accolades and very cool things. What you should know about her is that she has one of the leading interior design firms here in Los Angeles. She is what we all desire to be, an HGTV design celebrity. She has so many media appearances and cool things that she's shared over the years. And she's also recognized by industry titans of many a long list as someone who is an expert in wellness and balanced living. She also speaks publicly at corporate, university, and trade events around the world. If you have one you want her at for your own. And like me, she lives in Los Angeles and with her husband, daughter, 2 chickens, and a cat. And I really want to know more about the chickens, but it won't take up too much time. So thanks, Lori, for being here. We actually met, as I mentioned in my email, a couple years ago. I can't recall if it was 2018 or 19, West Edge Design Fair in Santa Monica.
Yep.
Been a few years. And then I am anxiously awaiting the new publication of your new book, which is all about green design as well.
That's right. Yes. So we're very excited about that. It's our second edition. We did really well. We wrote the first one in 2010. And with what's going on in the world right now, with people being so concerned about carbon capture, and I think green is just a household world now, where before it was a little bit of a struggle to get people to pay attention. Now I think it's really front and center in the conversation, and people are very interested in making their homes healthy, their workplaces healthy, and taking care of the planet at the same time.
Yeah, and I certainly hope so. Now, tell us a little bit about your journey and what you're doing now. So I see that you do interior architecture as well as interior design. And yeah, let us know a little bit about the design journey and then how you started getting into the green or environmental aspect, what that looks like.
Okay, so I have a master's degree from the UCLA Interior Architecture program. And really what that means is that you're able to move things around on the inside of a property. You're still going to need an architect to go there and move the walls around. So no way do I want to imply that I'm an architect, but interior architect is a little more intense than just straight interior decoration, which is also really important. And when I first started on my journey, I noticed in 1998, I was graduating from school, and I noticed that there were probably like 26,000 interior designers in Los Angeles. And I wanted a way to separate myself from the pack. And something that I have always embraced my entire life was being a person who was very conservative in their energy use and aware of the environmental impact that the things that I was purchasing were having, as well as a human impact. When people work in factories, or when people are producing goods in third world environments that don't maybe have the same strict environmental or employee safety protections in place that we have in Western countries, it's impacting their health, it's impacting their livelihoods. So those were all things I was really passionate about. There wasn't really any kind of niche at that time. So I just started to set myself apart as a green designer and someone who would go out and specify those types of materials and be an advocate for people who maybe had health sensitivities and didn't really know why they were getting so many allergies or asthma. And a lot of times it's the off-gassing of things in your home. And so it was tricky back then to get materials and suppliers to tell you about those things because there wasn't this desire to know about them, and it was tricky to locate them and source those type of materials. But now it's, many of the major retailers out there and so many of the wholesalers use it as a talking point, use it as a sales position when they have those items, and it's a lot easier to find them, and it's a lot easier to make an environment for yourself and for others that is really healthy and environmentally conscious.
Yes. Now, I have only, even though I had a career in the environmental field before designing and a little bit of overlap there, I've only been doing this for 6 years, and you've been doing it longer. So what in terms of having, like, looking back and having that longevity view, what can you say we've come really far in the interior design industry in terms of cleaning and greening, and what are the not so good areas, the sticking points that you still wish you saw more options for, or still wish you saw more improvements for?
I think when it's easy and it's inexpensive, people are all the way on board. And it's only the real diehards that care, that are real environmentalists, or that really care about their home health or their work health, that are tremendously interested in the more expensive route that it could or could not be, or the time that you need to wait. Right now, COVID has made everybody slow down. So, it's kind of a blessing for us that people can't get things immediately anymore. So we all have to just take a minute. And I think the inexpensive and the quick turnaround, getting things on Amazon overnight and getting things from Wayfair in 2 days is a challenge, because those things usually are inexpensive and come to you quickly because they're not green and they're not healthy for the environment or the people touching them, and they're surely not healthy for you, and they probably don't last very long either, but they're cheap and they're fast, so they're enticing. So that's the struggle. But I think that the fact that so many retailers and resources are readily available and attractive and affordable is a plus, that we've really come a long way.
Yeah, I know I've seen even in everyday, like, home products, not beyond interior design. When I started studying environmental science in 2004, I'd have to even then explain, like, people would be like, what are you studying? What does that mean? Recycling? It's like,
Why does that matter?
yeah, like recycling a little bit more. And to now, we are seeing even more options in our specific industry, which is amazing. But I think you hit the nail on the head with the time, as well as funds, or cost of goods being something that is the two either barriers or perceived barriers to entry into the greener products that are out there right now. I can say for sure that I relate to the time one. I have definitely been in that mindset where I'm like, oh, I could get that, or I could just get this right now. And it's really tough to kind of like come back.
If you can't even train yourself, how can you expect the clients to follow through? So that's just something that, there's that company with the A that shows up the next day and they don't really treat their employees very well. And a lot of the things that are being sourced aren't very good. So we've had to break the A habit in my house. And I said, yeah, I know it's the first one that pops up. It's the least expensive and it's the easiest, but no. And so, slowly but surely those A packages stopped showing up. And there's so many things out there. West Elm is a great one. IKEA has always been really environmentally sound, and they come pretty quickly, and they have some very attractive things. They flat pack them. They treat their employees right. They really try to source from eco-friendly factories and use renewable resources, as well as working with artisans locally. So there's some major ones out there. And I think probably the most important areas where you really want to have the cleanest environment and the most eco-friendly environment would be your bedroom, because that's where you're resting and rejuvenating 8 hours every day. And to have good clean air in there and great sheets and great bedding is easier now than ever, because so many companies offer organic bedding and organic fabric if you're doing window treatments or headboards or things like that, sustainable woods. So we've come a long way, and it's really easy. That would be always the room that I said, if you didn't have the money or the time or the inclination to do anything else, let's just focus on that first.
Yeah.
And surely the nurseries and the kids' rooms and elderly people's rooms, let's do that first. And if you can if your tolerance is, can slowly go up to do the rest of the home, we can move in that direction. But it's easier than ever now to do that. So no excuses to have bad health in your bedroom anymore.
Yeah, and I always joke that the mattress is the gateway drug to the rest of the green home, because most people are aware now that there's a difference between a healthier mattress and a standard mattress through,
right,
goodness gracious, a lot of years and a lot of education, a lot of other things. So I definitely agree on that. And back to IKEA, I think they were also, just to give them one more little gold star, I think they were also one of the first big box stores to phase out flame retardants in their foams and things like that. So I do have a love-hate relationship with IKEA, but we have to give credit where credit is due. So yeah, I think we've seen a lot of progress. And I think we're also seeing some costs of certain kinds of products be brought down, which I was just talking about earlier today. I talk about it all the time. I'm obsessed with economics and the environment. And so it's so important that we're buying as much as we can with the cleaner and greener products and materials, because over time it will just reduce. The more demand we have, the greater the cost reduction we're going to see. And I think
correct.
We've already seen a little bit.
With your dollars.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Vote with your dollars.
But one thing I want to point out about that's really interesting is we have something that's called shop at home first. And if you're a designer who's getting paid for your time versus getting commission on what you're selling, you can be an advocate for this, where you'll go through the client's home and try to repurpose or reuse things that in the old days, the old designer who got paid on commission had no inclination to want to do that. They want to rip it all out and start over. But the greenest thing that you can do is just keep using what you have. So if you can find a way to incorporate those things, and we always do, it could be a $20 million to $100 million home, and we're shopping at home first. And I think that people are really kind of very excited about that, because they save money, they save resources, and to not have it go into a landfill is the number one greenest thing you can do. And or selling it or buying used, gently used item is great. So I'm a big Craigslister, and it doesn't matter how rich and famous I get, I still buy and sell on Craigslist all the time and let go, and the neighborhood stores. And I encourage my clients to do the same. So I think that there's a lot to it. Then you don't have the packaging, you don't have the transportation, you don't have the disposal of it, you don't have the manufacturing of the new item. So whenever you can reuse those items, do it.
Give me 1 second. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I had to stop the noise out there.
Oh, that's okay. We've had that happen to us many times.
Okay, so yes, you were pointing out all of the reasons why buying things pre-loved, secondhand, gently used is so eco-friendly. We've touched on that before here, but for the sake of recapping, you mentioned the transportation costs, so CO2 there. You mentioned the packaging costs and savings on virgin resources there. And then the landfill. And a lot of people know that things going into the landfill is not so great, but what they maybe don't know or aren't clear on is why. Yes, it's a land use issue, and we've seen photos of above ground dumps and the birds pecking at it and things like that. But also in our underground landfills, it also produces methane, which is a really strong greenhouse gas, something like 25 times stronger than carbon dioxide. And every landfill has these little pipes where it's just being burned off into the atmosphere as things digest under there. So the particle board from the crappy furniture that we throw in or whatever, some things never quite degrade properly, obviously, as we know, like plastics and such, which is a host of other problems. But the reasons why we don't like landfills is 1, for the land use, and 2, for that methane gas, which isn't so great. So, and then last but not least, if you have something lasting you much longer, it reduces your need to buy new and again, use more virgin resources. So it is like this whole ecosystem of problems or solutions, depending on how you approach it. When you're shopping at home, are you seeing if you can use things in different rooms, or if you seeing if you can reupholster or paint, or is it all of the above?
Reupholstering usually winds up being just about as much as getting a new item, because new items are so affordable. So that's a tough one, unless something's a really, really great condition, antique or well made, that's going to go the distance. I don't usually go that route because it doesn't make economic sense, or unless they really love it. But I'll find myself taking a chair from here, side table from there, or a lamp from here, and just kind of massaging things a little bit with a new shade, or just putting things into a different organization in a different space makes them feel entirely new to the client. And I think it's exciting, and it's kind of like a puzzle for me. So, after doing this for over 2 decades, you need to keep yourself intellectually stimulated. So sometimes, creating these different puzzles of how to make things work. And it's funny because new designers will say to me, I quoted this, they'll ask me questions about how should my pricing be? And I priced it this way, and I'll say, my gosh, that's so low. You're making $30 an hour. Why? And well, I thought because they had their own stuff, it would be easier, but it actually turned out being much more difficult. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So this leads perfectly into my next question, which I think I have 2 answers for already, but you can reprioritize if you want. And my question is, what does eco-friendly interior design work look like in your world? And, or you can choose, what are your top 3 favorite ways to go green in designing a space? And I think the 2 you said were the bedding and the mattress, and then the shopping at home, but you can give me new ones if you want.
I think one of the things that a lot of people overlook is the toxins that you bring into your environment to clean it on a weekly or daily basis. If you have really easy to clean surfaces and durable surfaces that are, more of just a quick wipe kind of a situation, you can clean them with less toxic things and a little elbow grease instead of these harsh chemicals. And if those things are not introduced into your environment, without buying a thing, without changing a thing other than your cleaning products, it's a huge way to go green and be eco-friendly. So when we design spaces, we really try to think about the cleanliness, and then installing either smaller HEPA filters, or if they can't, or larger ones if they can afford it. That's going to be a bigger budget house. Some houses have a whole closet dedicated to a filtration system, or just simply swapping out all of the vents in your existing HVAC system. One will make wonders for your indoor air quality. So those are kind of not glamorous things, that people don't really think about, that make such a huge impact on what's happening in the space. And then we really like to put plants all over, which help to clean the air, and they also feel great if you don't kill them. They're green, they move, they're alive. And one of the things I like people to know is that plants release oxygen during the night, and they take in oxygen, and they take in carbon dioxide during the day. So if you don't want to compete with your plants in your bedroom, I see a lot of these Instagrammers, they have all these plants in their bedrooms. The only thing you want to have in there is a mother-in-law tongue, because that plant does it in reverse and it releases oxygen. So keep the jungle out of your bedroom and put it in the other parts of the house, and put the mother-in-law tongues all over the bedroom.
Mother-in-law tongues.
Those snaky looking ones?
Oh.
They're like pointy tall ones, and they're kind of straight. Yeah, they have a reverse input and output of the carbon dioxide and the oxygen.
That's amazing. I didn't know that. There's also a list I can share with everyone. I think NASA created it when they were looking at how to regenerate air well in their rocket ships and what have you. So there's a list out there that NASA made of ones that are great for that purpose as well. Although not, I
We
don't
have
think
that
they.
same list in our book. So
Oh,
that's the place
great.
to find
There
it.
you go. Buy Lori's book on
Yeah.
Amazon and anywhere near you. Okay, so yes, plants and cleaning surfaces. Now, how do you balance the idea of surfaces that are super easy to clean and require less topical chemical components with, let's say, fabrics that have been pre-treated with not great chemicals? Sounds like a tricky balance.
So some things that you're going to buy, it is what it is, and you're just going to need to open the windows when you get something new and it smells new. When it's that new smell, that means your brain cells are melting. And you might as well drink wine if you want to do that rather than breathe in toxic fabric. So I encourage people when they get something new, especially if it's going to go in a child's room or an elderly person's room who might have developing or compromised immunosystems or breathing, lung tissue, is to open up, either put it outside if the climate agrees with you and let it do its thing for a couple of days, or open the windows and the fan in that room and just
Mentally
let it off gas for maybe 3 or 4 days before you live with those types of pieces. So that helps. And then they do have, if you want to get not treated items, they do have companies now, you can just look them up on the internet, that can come treat your stuff with non-toxic stain protector and stain repellent. And a company that I really, really love using, oh my gosh, I'm going blank on the name right now. It'll come back to me. Holy moly.
If you can't remember, you'll just email me and we'll pop it in the show.
Let me grab my box. Hold on. It's Krypton Home. Krypton Home.
Oh yes, I've heard of that.
Yeah, so Krypton Home has a lot of really great fabrics that are non-toxic and indestructible.
I think they're Oecotech certified too.
Yes. So you can crayon, ketchup, wine, it comes right off. So
that sounds like a fun
they're a lifesaver. I can't believe I forgot their name. It's like forgetting your spouse's name.
That's okay.
I use them all the time. And a lot of different vendors. So that's like the supplier of the fabric, and then a lot of different vendors like Duralee or Calico Home, Cravat. They'll have the Krypton Home fabric in their lines and their different styles.
Wonderful. Thank you for that hot tip. Okay, so what is one thing that we haven't covered that you would like to share, either about how you do work at your firm or the industry as a whole?
Well, I think one of the things that I really felt that was so important, there's 3 things in green design that are key, is the environment, your personal health, and then just the way that employees are treated.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I always made sure to do with all the people that worked with me was to be equitable with them when it comes to payment and benefits and vacations, and really allowing people to participate in the success and have an environment that is really as low stress. So all of our immune systems stay happy. So those are some things also that seem like a little bit touchy-feely, but it's all part of it. It's all intertwined. So it's not just what you're selecting, but it's the energy that the people who are selecting those things and making those things, the animals that are involved in this process, the earth that's involved in this process. It's all part of this cosmic energy that I think makes or breaks your space and makes or breaks your spirit. So
I love that.
I like to think what we do is more than just, people showing off, but it's really helping people to be their best self so they can go out into the world and take care of other people because they feel nurtured and safe and healthy at home or at work.
Yeah, I love that. That was so well said. And you're bringing the topic to everywhere from the global industry and employees on the whole, as well as the ones you can impact in your world on a daily basis. And just to expand back out again to that global point of view, which you mentioned earlier on in the interview, is when things are being made, it's not just like, okay, are we taking from this resource or using this energy or blah, blah, blah to the earth? There are also human beings doing manual labor in the production of things that are, well, whether they're low quality, high quality, have like, environmentally made or not. But what we want to think about are things that might impact those people's health. So like if they have to be exposed to certain chemicals in dye stuffs or treatments on fabric, or if they have to, like if they're cutting a countertop and they're getting silicosis because they're not provided safety equipment from cutting your quartz or whatever it might be. So it is first and foremost a human health issue when we talk about cleaner and greener design in your home, in your client's home, and here in America, but also worldwide, because there's human beings that are being impacted globally. So I think it's such an important point that you made, and I just wanted to highlight that again. So I think we can.
One thing, so sorry to interrupt. One thing that people also don't think about is, are children making your products, or are they in school where they should be? The rug industry is horrendous in enslaving children to hand make those beautiful knots in the rugs because their fingers are little. And so if you can just, take it one more step and make sure that the rug that you're sourcing doesn't have kids making it, those are things that you just don't really think about. And
sure. And let's shout out Good Weave Certified, that's the certification that we look for to ensure that there's no unfair labor practices. And again, it takes a little bit more money for the company to get that certification, and maybe some of that is passed on, but the more we can ask our vendors if they have that, or tell them we're interested in that and buy that, the cheaper it'll be, the more ubiquitous it'll be. And we can collectively have such a big impact.
Companies are really coming to the forefront. And Jaipur is one we work with a lot, and they're helping women in these collectives. They're making sure that the people who are weaving should be of weaving age. And the rugs are the same as something, that's made inexpensively in a factory in China. So the prices are becoming more equitable from mainstream products and to eco-friendly products. And I think my dream was 10 years ago, 11 years ago, that one day we wouldn't be differentiating, and we're really getting closer to a time when things are just made that way. And now with the advent of blockchain technology, where you have companies like a company called Track, is their symbol, I don't remember what their name is, but they can do supply chain notifications of every single place where a product has been. And I think as we get more sophisticated in implementing that blockchain technology, and companies are using it, it's just going to become like my dream 11 years ago, that we wouldn't be calling it eco-friendly anymore. It just would be. So
yeah. Yes. And one more quick point on weaving is there's also a bit of a cultural element in there too, if we're able to return this artisanal work back to the artisans in these communities that are of weaving age and have fair trade agreements. I've spoken with a couple people working on that in that field, and I think that is yet another layer to this onion to consider as well. So well said. Everything was exactly on point. And let me know where one place is that our listeners can go to find you.
LoriDeWest.com. You can come check us out. We have a blog there. We do it once a week. It's our green blog. It's not always green information, but it's always great information. And we're just all about being positive and really trying to make everyone's life better, and just smiling along the way.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your expertise and taking your time out. And tell us one more time what your book is called and where people can buy it.
It's Green Interior Design, and you can get it at Amazon. You can get everything at Amazon, but if you don't like shopping there are definitely other places where you can go, like Barnes & Noble. And if you just look up Green Interior Design, Lori Dennis. It'll be a wealth of information for your homeowner. It's a great gift for them or for any trade professional. The first book was really more geared toward trade professionals, and we made this one prettier and with bigger, glossier pictures and easier to read, understandable material. So it's a fun read. Courtney Porter and I wrote it together, and Green Interior Design Part 2, Edition 2. I think you'll love it.
Amazing. Thank you again so much for your time and your expertise, and we will talk soon.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.